Good morning, everybody. My name is Ashley, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my research study. To begin with, my purpose statement. The purpose of this study is to describe the cardiovascular effects of the warehouse worker environment in males ages 60 and above. My methodology for this research study is fairly simple. The participants will, of course, be men ages 60 and above, residing in Hickory, North Carolina, working in some form of warehouse or production line environment. Providing informed consents, research will be conducted gathering 2 blood pressure measurements, 1 BMI measurement, and 2 separate resting heart rate measurements. All of these will be checked for any abnormalities from the norm, and everything will be very confidential. Any information gathered through the informed consents in the email will be kept in a safe, secure file, and it will be in a very confidential environment. The background, the main reason I chose this study was because I've lived in this area given 50 miles my entire life, and if you know anything about this area, it was the warehouse environment, furniture factories, production lines, kind of built this area, and you see a lot of those broken down warehouses, especially around the actual school. For those of you who live here, all those old warehouses were at some point furniture factories, and they were built, the last 60 years. That's what was the main economy around this area, and a lot of the members of my family actually, worked there and were employed there for many, many years. And after a while, I started to think, a lot of the members of my family, they have certain health problems, and I wondered if the general population, the aging population, or current population that still works in that environment, if they had health problems as well related to the environment they worked in, such as cotton mills and furniture factories, breathing in all those chemicals. A big reason I chose the age group was because there's a group of older populations that actually still are working way past their retirement age because of lack of money. Either Social Security doesn't pay enough, or they have a bigger family to take care of. So you have an aging population that, on top of, not only do they have to work in I wouldn't say hostile, but difficult to say the least. They're these harsh environments. Now, age is kind of a declining factor in this, making it even harder for them. It brings a little more to the study. Start with general topic, diet for these warehouse workers. A lot of members of my family, my grandmother, for instance, she worked in a yarn mill for 50 years almost. It seemed like 40 years really, but they had food trucks. Which the food on these trucks were, very poor. It's cheap. It's chips and crackers and quick stuff you can eat. And they're on very short time limits. So breaks were, maybe you had a 5-minute break during the day, but lunch was 20 minutes. Now there's more laws to do this. But then there really wasn't. It was just a free-for-all. And production was key. So it was fast-paced. There was no real time to worry about, taking care of yourself diet-wise, at least while you were at work. And for the biggest majority of this population, there wasn't money to, provide any elegant, healthy meals. It was what you could afford, which is, as we all know, not the highest quality food. My uncle is a great example for this group because he worked in a tire manufacturing company. Now he's into many better things, but he's a great example of how this environment, no matter the length of time you work in it, how it can negatively affect your body. My Uncle Jeff worked in a tire manufacturing warehouse for, I'd say, about 10 years, which is a good amount of time, and now he owns his own business and everything else. But he's 47, he recently had a massive heart attack, and, they blame it on a number of things when it comes to that. But, you have a fairly young for a heart attack, a massive heart attack, having a quadruple bypass at 47, and he just so happened to spend a decade working in, this place where harsh chemicals were being, mixed together to create all these different types of rubber and everything. On to other health issues, to bring other issues that this environment brings on. This whole population, generally with production, has been known to have higher triglyceride counts. And when you think about manufacturing, there's different shifts. You could have first, second, or third. These people don't have a normal 8 to 5 job. The vast majority of them, they might luck up and get a day shift, but a lot of them are working, from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. or vice versa, however, and it's throwing off their whole cycle. Our circadian rhythm is kind of this 24-hour cycle that our body gets itself into, and this is what you do now, this is what you do now, this is what you do now. And these people don't have that rhythm because they have a schedule that's very abnormal, and mentally it just throws their whole system off. It leaves them stressed out or tired, lack of sleep, they're drained. And on top of this, all of these other factors such as, the little microfiber dust particles and the chemicals they're breathing in. They have to dye yarn, or they have to spray chairs with chemicals to keep the paint on longer. They have to paint things. There's all this stuff that their body's consuming, and over time that's going to break you down in some form of way. And for this specific population, you have, people that are 60 to 70 now. My grandmother stopped working when she was 79. And she had been working in a yarn mill since she graduated high school. She went straight out and graduated from high school into these mills. So, if you look at that, you've got 50 years in an environment where your body is you're trapped in an old building all day where, who knows the quality of the structure in itself, not to mention everything that's going on inside. You get 50 years of all these bad toxins, you're going to end up with emphysema. And she does have emphysema, or did have emphysema, I should say. Emphysema, breathing issues, you're going to have all kinds of internal problems, and it's a big factor of it is the environment that you've been in for 50 years. On to my research questions. The 3 big questions I wanted to ask was, 1, what is the correlation between the time of shift, the shift work? And what was the rest? What was your heart rate effect of it? What was your resting heart rate? Is it different from those who work first shift to second shift, from third to second, vice versa? And second question, does this general population deal with other health issues, such as high BMI, which could be a reflection of the diet, or low BMI because of the lack of nutrition, or like a low blood pressure? How's the blood pressure? Is it being affected by this environment? And finally, what is the correlation between heart rate and work hours per week? These people, I've recently spoke to a friend I went to high school with, and he works in the environment, and some days, they're set to work 40-hour weeks with an off day on Friday, working Saturday, and vice versa. And he says most of the time it's not a thing. We always work Fridays. So these people are working some up to 60 plus hours each week. They're exhausted, and I wanted to see if the work hours, if a standard 40-hour week to 60 hours, obviously there's going to be some, your exhaustion. But, are there any other problems being brought on by these work hours? As far as any problems with my study, I don't believe when it comes to my methods and procedures, I don't believe those will cause any problems because there's no real threat or, there's no exercise being done or anything, and it's in a safe seated position, just mostly measurements. But overall, I think it's pretty safe and we're not going to have any problems. Thank you.